Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I must say I'm honored to be here. I'm just looking at the crowd. Dion, I thought about 20 people. So if I sound nervous, I am. All right. Just quickly to introduce myself. As we said, I work in Bloemfontein. I'm the manufacturing manager currently in Bloemfontein. This is my CV, my short CV. Started as an operations analyst back in the days and spent the majority of my time in logistics, supply chain, part of supply chain, but the logistics side, warehousing, distribution, dealing with the customers, and then made a turn in credit, where I actually got to learn the difference between a debit and a credit. And from there onwards, moved back into the logistics space. So what I will talk about happened mostly in that year over there. And yeah, I've got the opportunity to move to Bloemfontein as a supply chain manager, where I'm more involved in manufacturing now. So yeah, but before I continue, I would like to introduce my company to you first. You know Coke, right?
Every day, thousands of people get up and go to work.
Thousands of people who all share a single vision.
The vision of making our company the best Coca Cola bottler in the world.
And the most valuable independent food and beverage company in Africa.
Why is it I do what I do?
Is it because I love that I can make a difference?
Is it because it makes me feel so proud?
Or is it because I'm one of over 15,000 employees who go to work every single day?
My mission is to see the satisfaction on the face of every single customer, every single day.
Because my customers are at the center of everything I do.
I am only one outlet of over 500,000 that CCBA services across Africa.
No matter how big or small you are, their service is always the same, always exceptional.
I always feel like they're a part of my world, and I know I'm the most important part of theirs.
The truth is, they really care about my business.
I am here every day helping my customers to achieve their dreams.
Consumers want variety, and I have something to offer for every taste bud.
The reason we love these brands is that there is one for every occasion.
And for every lifestyle choice.
Our favorite brands are always there.
Ice cold and within arm's reach of desire.
We may be a big company, but we also have a big heart.
For me, one of the biggest rewards is being welcomed as a valued partner by our communities.
It's about giving back and being an integral part in the lives of our community members.
If we can help one person and that person can help another person, before we know it, we're making a real and meaningful difference. This is why we develop small businesses, empower women and young people,
And strive to source from locally owned suppliers.
This long-term commitment to Africa delivers long-term rewards for our customers, our communities, our stakeholders, and our shareholders. For us, it's all about shared value.
Being part of something this big means that working at CCBA is more than just a job.
We're only passionate about what we do.
We choose to be part of this great CCBA team.
There are people like me in more than 30 other bottling plants in Africa.
There is strength in our pride.
Every single day, I'm inspired.
And motivated to be the best I can possibly be.
We are here because we have a passion for the Coca Cola business and for the brand.
For me, this is so much more than a job. I think and act like an owner.
Each one of us is personally accountable for our decisions, for our actions.
And together, we work as one team. We are humble, but confident in all we do.
For us, it's not just about doing business. It's about doing business the right way.
Our employee volunteering program gives me 1 day's paid leave every year.
Where I can do something positive for my community.
Sustainability is integral to our working lives. Our sustainable packaging innovations are designed to reduce the material we use and steadily increase the recycled content in our packaging.
We take our environmental responsibility seriously. In South Africa, we have saved over 700 million liters of water in the last 6 years. That's enough water to provide 8,000 homes with 250 liters per day for a whole year.
Our school is one of the almost 600 schools in the schools recycling program.
And together, all the schools collected over 1,400 tons of waste last year for recycling.
Those are the kind of numbers that make a real difference.
All of this we do with the highest possible integrity and a drive to perform to the highest standards.
That's our way, the CCBA way. But do you want to know what really sets us apart?
We know that our best accomplishments still lie ahead of us.
And that's why we take so much pride in what we do. It's why we love what we do. It is why we do what we do.
Okay, so that's our company all over Africa. Just to give you quickly some background over this, you heard that we have got 30 bottling plants all over Africa. We're currently operating in 13 different countries in Africa. We employ about 16,000 people across Africa. Half of it is in South Africa. Maybe just a question, who of you are business owners? Is there business owners here? You heard that the very first year of Coke's existence, they sold 25 bottles. Currently, as we stand, 1.9 billion units are sold daily. Units, a single serving, 1.9 billion, 9 zeros, has been sold daily. Daily. The whole world. Yes. So, there is hope for the business people. Yes, obviously with a good marketing strategy and the brand and everything with that. Just to quickly give you background on our value chain and where I fit into the value chain, is we obviously start with the customer, where then we generate the order, and then everything starts from there. We plan it, we source the raw materials, we manufacture it, we store it in a warehouse, and then from there on distribute it to the customers. On top of that, we make use of the fourth industrial revolution, the nice buzzword everyone is talking about, and we actually, at the time of delivery, we give our customer a clean, proper invoice, which eliminates credit notes and debit notes afterwards. It just makes it much more easier for us, and the payment can be done immediately, and the customer is happy that there's no queries afterwards also, and then the whole process starts itself as well. Where do I fit in? At the time of the project that we're going to talk about, I was responsible for the stock planning, sourcing of raw materials to produce the cool drink, warehouse logistics, and obviously from a customer service point of view as well. We installed a production line in 2015 in the line in the business, and obviously through a feasibility study we determined that, listen, we're going to need this line. Why did we need this line? You could see that at the time our 2 liter volume was growing at 55% since the previous line was installed. I think it was roughly about 3-4 years prior to that. And on top of that, between 2015, there was since then there was a 13% growth, and we also forecasted that we're going to grow 9% on that for the year 2016. So our capacity on PET volume was 19.5 million cases just in peak. So peak for us is from an October to a December. That's what we had to sell, 15 million cases. And what we would require at the time was 23 million cases. So hence, where do we install this line? Then we said, okay, from a Coca Cola point of view, the Coca Cola South Africa, we said, okay, the best place to install it is in Devland. Devland is in the south of Joburg, I'll show you just now, which is the best, obviously from a logistics point of view. We all know transport is very expensive, fuel prices, the trucks, and obviously the safety on the road. So what we saw, this is our financial years, and you could see every year what would it do. So the blue line is actually how the volume spikes, the demand. And we saw the minute we installed that line, can you see what it did to our capacity? So it was genuinely necessary. We didn't feel like we've got money, let's do something with it. There was generally a genuine need for that line. Just to quickly talk to you about the high level project plan. We, in 2015, obviously in 2014, the scope was done. We spoke to the manufacturing, the tenders went out, and at the same time, so we awarded the tender to the specific manufacturer of the line, and they had 3 months to get that equipment constructed or built up. They physically delivered, so it was delivered, so the manufacturer is Krones in Germany. They delivered it here, they had to install it. So this was the perfect plan, and by July, we are ready to produce the first bottle out of that line, which gave us enough time to buffer, to build stock, so that when we reach our peak period, we would be ready. We would meet the 23 million case demand. Everyone is happy. We reduced the transportation cost, and as a business, we grow the 9% or the 15%, that was asked for. With any project if you're involved with a project, what happens? Delays. Am I right? So everything went according to plan, so that was perfectly done. And then we started installing the line. And then we saw, okay, this was wrong in the factory. We had to adapt to this. The commissioning of the line took time just because of certain elements. And then the go live, actually producing the cool drink, took even longer. And I'll talk about that as well. So could you see the space that was allowed for us to do stock build right in a time where we actually desperately need the cool drink. So we didn't actually see the saving of that line right from the start. And we also later on realized that when you do a project like this in a cool drink environment, it takes about a year for that line to be efficient enough to deliver what is built for. So this is Devland. So as you can see on the map over there, where exactly it's, in Soweto. This is the actual plant. Now I'm showing you this out because I want to show you when we go into the detail And if I tell you the story that what I was exposed to being part of this process, as you can see, this is the whole of the Devlin site. On this side, you've got the N1. Normally when you pass it on the N1, just before Alberton, you'll see it on your left-hand side. I'm sure you've seen it before. By the way, this is the biggest plant in Africa. Biggest plant in Africa, guys. And on the one side over here, you've got a mountain, so we can't expand towards them, to that one. There is like a wetland, so you can't build over there. We're not allowed to do that. And over there is businesses and other people own this. We subsequently bought that piece over there now, so the manufacturing area can expand into that area now. But at the time, this is our constraint, and just by looking at the picture, it's congested. It's it's very busy over there. That's the manufacturing area. So that's physically where we've got the 3 lines producing cool drink. That's your warehouse and distribution area. Over here is just truck parking. You can see the trucks parking over there. And you've got a workshop over there. So this is like a plan of the line that we actually installed. We did that area over there. We call it the line 4. You've got your line 1, and don't ask me why it's not in a proper sequence. This is engineers designing the layout, not me. But you've got your line 1 that runs over there. Let me give you a bigger picture there. So that's your, so I just enlarged this piece over here. This is obviously warehouse space. There's your line 1. This is a glass line. You've got a line 2, also a slower glass line, and the line 3, which is a PET line that produced the small bottles, and at the time 2 liters as well. And then we installed the line 4 over here, which gave us the extra capacity, as well as a small conditioning room. I'll talk about that later as well. So line 1 produces about 60,000 cases a day, glass line. So if you look at a 1.25 crate, there's 12 bottles in it. Line 2 at the time was 20,000 cases, but because we optimized this line, we decommissioned that line. It's not in existence anymore. We've converted that into warehouse storage space. Then we've got the PET line, can do about 80,000 cases a day. And then this line was installed at a capacity of 160,000 cases a day. So if you add that together, sorry, not that one, add these 3 together, that's a current capacity in our Devlin plant that we can produce. Not only do we produce for that area, we produce literally for the whole of Gauteng, Polokwane, that's a growing market at this stage, and that line is producing cool drink, some pack sizes for Bloemfontein as well. Yeah, just to give you more facts about Devlin as well, a 94 million unit case per annum, that's what we do. I talked about the glass line, the glass line, we call it the returnable glass beverage, which is the fastest glass line in Africa. 30,000 units per hour does it produce. Same with the line 4 that's been introduced now, 40,000 2-liter bottles per hour. And our warehouse, you saw the picture of the warehouse as well. We can store at any given time 1.2 million cases of product. From a logistical point of view, the distribution side, we've got 13 loading bays. Now I want you to imagine OR Tambo, not our airport that's got 1 plane every 2 days. But OR Tambo, where there's like literally planes that has been lined up like this. And Devlin is one of the busiest sites as well. We've got 13 loading bays, and in our busy time, we turn about 308 trucks in that 24-hour cycle, which gives you every 45 minutes, a new truck pulls in, loads about 2,500 cases, and we offload product that was left on the truck. So we've got literally 45 minutes for that truck to enter the gate and leave the gate as well. So actually loading at the bay is about 30 minutes. You know, we allow for the driver to just take a quick break, food, refresh, and checking of the product as well. So this is our Devlin, some quick facts about Devlin as well. we started off the project. I'll show you the timeline. So obviously, as the line was being built in Germany, we started with the groundworks over here, and just a big challenge over here, and I'll talk about it more as well. Think about if you look at so you can see over here, just by looking at the floor, you could see previously that was space where we had to store product. It was like allocated warehouse space, and now we have to open up, and where do you go with that product? So stock was standing literally everywhere in the warehouse. It was a massive challenge, and at the same time, you've got heavy equipment moving in an area where people are working. You are creating dust and noise in an area where there should be no dust, because you don't want dust particles in the product that you drink. So you could see what we had to do. So right behind those plastic curtains is the line 3, busy at the time producing. So we had to do, and you could see it's wet over here. So everything we kept on putting water on the floor so that we can just contain the dust at the time. But moving the stock around to create space in a space, you already see that was very congested. Later it turned into this, and then the TLB wasn't the only vehicle in the site. We then had trucks that came in, collected all of this. And you can imagine now the challenge with this, because the truck, the aisles where the forklifts travel in the warehouse is 4 meters. And that's specifically designed so that 2 forklifts can pass each other with product, carrying product, and being safe at the same time. And now, in a busy time where you are doing construction, you want to load those trucks as fast as possible as well. So all of this had to be taken out. So why did we do this? Some of the machines needs a plinth. For those of you who's not in construction, a plinth is a big, massive concrete block that you put into the ground, sometimes a meter deep, even deeper sometimes. I think the ones that we use over here is a meter deep. And that was to bolt the machine as well, so that if there's the filler had to be bolted onto this concrete, because it's a moving part, a rotating part. Obviously not breaking up the floor as it turns. The line arrived. Everyone was excited. It felt like a celebration. But you could see it's not a good photo, but all the equipment arrived in these containers via ship, delivered to us. And it came like this, and we had to then, as we take the equipment, we had to go and put it in that specific space where you have to install it. So the whole area looked like this, and I deliberately put this picture over here because it looks like a mess. You don't know what's going on there. I still don't know what's going on there. But that was the reality of our lives in our operation that they had to continue on a daily basis. It's just some offloading the equipment as well. We then started packing the project, the equipment as it's supposed to be. You can see how it arrives there. And this is just maybe a bigger overview. There's your line 3 running at the stage, producing cool drink. Robots arriving on big concrete blocks. It transformed into this. So this is a photo of the completed line running at the time. There's the conditioning room. The conditioning room is a room where we keep our preforms. Each bottle that you've got in front of you is made of resin that is shaped into a small tube. Call it a tube. And then we heat up that tube that gets blown into a mold that forms the bottle shape of each and every single product. So because of the South African temperatures that goes up and down, like massive up and down, we condition our preforms at a average temperature of 25 degrees. So winter, summer, that is it. You take it out, and the whole cage is the same temperature. Because you would get, if you don't do that, the outside is extremely cold. It's like a colder preform. In the inside, it's a different temperature, and that gives us variation on the product. And we lose a lot of raw materials when we don't do that. This is the line 4, as you can see, producing the filler being over there. There you can see the filler. I'll show better pictures now. And this whole area was transformed, which was previously storage space. So that was the inside of the warehouse, and in the manufacturing space. At the same time, we started digging up. This is a very old site, so the outside concrete slabs started cracking. It wasn't maintained the way it should have been, so we started digging up massive areas to accommodate. You can see some of these blocks have been done previously, but that was the reality of our lives every single day for about 6 to 8 months, dealing with this construction trucks. We don't know where to put the stock, because stock is not allowed to stand in the sun. At the same time, we've opened up the warehouse. In the past, a truck would drive in there. We had like a loading tunnel. Trucks would come out here, and that area over there has been transformed into this area over here. Sorry, you can see it there. So just the route of the trucks, the people were not used to that as well. We installed some racking as well, which was nice. We had the height, and that gave us extra storage capacity. You can see the movement of the trucks as well, and what we had to do to keep the, obviously, dust out and the sun out as well. This was a pathway where the trucks had to travel and couldn't anymore. This actually was very close to our peak period. So that go live period from the line, we started doing this, and we already ran into loading capacity for our trucks. And then with any good project that you do construction, if there's people from construction over here, a project is not a project if you don't hit a water pipe, if you don't hit a communications cable, or if you don't hit electricity. So it was a given. It was a daily basis. We had water pipes, and funny enough, we had the drawings there. I mean, the project was properly, we properly went through it. We said, okay, there's water pipes, there's electricity pipes, but for some reason or another, we kept on hitting, especially the networking pipes. That wasn't drawn up properly. And one thing I've learned, just to get back to this, is civils is extremely important in a construction environment. That's something you have to look at on at least on a yearly basis. Just review it, go through it. That's a big problem for us. Just not part of this project. For some reason, Sasol has a gas line between them in Sasolburg, connecting Joburg or Polokwane. I'm not sure which one it is, but it runs right through our project. It's actually where that white bucket is, runs through that area over there. And about 3 years prior to this project, we did repair the concrete blocks. It was cracking up, and we did that one space. And the contractor actually hit that gas line. It's the size this line. We closed the N1 highway for 3 days. We evacuated that whole Devland business area for about 3 days. And when we started with this, one of the biggest challenges we had is Sasol at the time now, because we had to do construction again. It was there somewhere. We expanded that area over there. We had to do construction there again. So Sasol, this time very nervous, not really want to allow us to do it, but they were there every single day, and we could not do anything until their engineers were there to actually give us the thumbs up and continue the work. Now, the interesting part of that line is you can't just open up. You have to open it up sections at a time. I think it was like 4 or 5 meters at a time. Because of the pressure in the pipe, the ground is actually there to keep it intact. If you open up a too wide space, it actually explodes. Don't know why, but that's how the Sasol engineers design it. From a logistical point of view, so like I said to you, in 2015, I had the logistics role in Devland. And one of the biggest challenges for me is to manage this whole line installation and the construction at the same time. From just getting the stock right. I'll talk about the customers that we have to move up. But this is the actual filler that actually fills the bottle. You can see every single slot of that is a bottle being filled at any particular time. This whole filler is about 7 meters in diameter, and our pathways was 4 to 5 meters, depending on where in the factory it was. But previously, I mean, more or less where these tracks are here, that's where stock used to stand, where we allowed, so we had to clear this whole area even further away because we wasn't sure how wide this whole container is going to be. So just creating a massive nightmare for us because we had to move the stock away. It was standing there. We had to move it away. And when this equipment was in, we had to move it back again. So that was a big challenge for us as well. But yeah, you can see this whole filler being brought in by 7-ton forklifts, 2 of them. You don't see the one at the back. And then eventually, there you can see the completed floor that was dug up, how it looks like now. But we had to bring in the filler and it had to be in positioned, and then we used a crane like this to actually put it exactly on the spot it was supposed to be. That process, now having this equipment over here, you would think 1 hour, 2 hours, took us a day and a half to get the exact spot on the floor. These guys were on their knees literally that whole time, measuring, and it was lasers this side and that side and getting it exact spot just because of the pipe work that had to be connected and joined perfectly. And that was one of many examples that delayed the project. I'll show you the delayed in the past. Maybe just to talk about everything that I showed you now is what did I learn from it. This was basically from a line point of view, operational readiness, that's about the people, stakeholder involvement, other departments. I'll talk about some stupid mistakes on our side that we made. And from operational point of view, what were some of the challenges that we experienced over here. Just from a line point of view, from operational readiness, we thought that we've coached the people properly, how to run the machine. We thought that the minute go live is that they will switch on the button and we would produce 160,000 cases a day. It didn't happen. I think as a company we've learned out of this project because the time it took our employees to actually get right what was supposed to be done, the production lost was much more than it actually would have costed our company to send those teams, the whole team, to Germany and go and run a line there for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, just to get that practical experience. So that was a massive learning for us. It was a no-brainer to put 50 people on a plane to Germany, get them there, and actually let them run the machines over there. And something to consider in your own environment as well. Because of the delays, you could see the Germans got irritated. They just wanted to get this line running. They wanted commissioned. So they didn't really. So our people were standing there and say, "Okay, how do you do this?" And I tried to practice. I don't know in Germany because to say to you guys now, who speaks German? Who speaks German? Right? But in any case, so you could. It was quite funny where the Germans were. So our people would say, "Okay, so what are you doing now? How do you do this? Why are you doing it?" And you could hear this guy repeating in Germany, "I don't understand what you're telling me now," and he would continue the work. And five minutes later, our Italian project, the proper project manager or project engineer of this thing, he'd speak English to her as well. So you could clearly see there was tension. These guys just wanted to get the job done out and get it commissioned, and they are back in Germany. So yeah, it was a big problem for us over there, and because of that, the team then sat back and said, "But if this is the guy's attitude, I'll stay out of his way." So it was a massive challenge for us to get the people engaged, to keep them engaged and keep them involved and absorb what they're doing at the stage. So we talked about what we should have done. We did the classroom training. We could have done better. I think sending the people physically to the place where it was being manufactured, see how they run similar operations in Germany or other places in the world could have helped a lot better. Prepare well for training. You just have to do it, guys. Train twice, 3 times, put it in your planning. And I'm sure, like we've realized that at the time of the manufacturing, that 3 months, I think we could have trained people properly within 3 months to run a machine properly. And a big lesson that we've learned over here is, who knows the operation best? The manager sitting in the office, or the operator, or the frontline employee on the floor? That's something we've learned, and we talk about it. I mean, it's a practice that institutions like the university teach you. You know, speak to people that actually do the job. A simple example over this in our current depot, at the time when we've installed the line over here, so I wasn't part of this, but at the place where we actually offloaded the full pallet that's been produced now, if it wasn't for the operator that told us, listen, you won't have enough space here, because can you see there's a column? There's a big column over there where you want to put this equipment, it's not going to work. So involve the people in this, and I don't know why, but this project was handled with a lot of secrecy. I think most probably from a competitor point of view, we don't want people to, or our competitors to understand or know that we're going to put this in, which is understandable. But I'm sure that there's key stakeholders in the company that can actually give you that insight on how, just to make a small change would make a massive difference. Stakeholders. As all of us, I took myself, I was in a logistics environment when I needed something to be done on the other side of the fence in a manufacturing environment or from a sales environment. They were too busy with their own jobs, also understandably. They didn't really understand the importance of this line. So yeah, that cross-functional support wasn't there. And it was a big learning for me as well. And I thought about this, how could we do this differently? And I mean, the only thing that I could come up with is to say, listen, over-communicate. Make the people understand what their contribution or their role is in this project. How would they benefit from it? One of the big things about leadership is how do you get people motivated? I don't really like the word motivated, inspired. How you get them inspired is to make them understand how can they contribute to the greater success. And that's definitely something that we will do with future projects in our company as well. We had a big problem, and this is a personal experience, because we had so much to do. You had your own work to do. Just to give you, let me take it a step back. Because of the construction on site and because of the activity that normally takes part on that site, we had to move some of that activity to the nearby sites, like in Midrand. It's about 60 kilometers away. We had a Midrand plant. They took some customers. We moved some of the glass customers to Pretoria. It's about 100 kilometers away. And then, Nigel wasn't part at the time yet. But you had to sit in Devland and manage your deliveries, in those 2 sites. And that was a big thing, so we had to, there's so much energy that went into that just to make sure that your customer gets a delivery out of that site. We forgot that there's other stuff that we had to do, and now you've got the project stuff to do. And we actually, coming back to the cross-functional support and everyone prioritizing their own work, a stupid thing like getting a resource in, getting someone in to handle admin, getting someone in to handle customers in that depot makes it much more easy, and you just need to check in once or twice a day if everything is back on track again. And then if you heard in the video as well, one of our values is work in winning teams, and we completely failed that value in this project because like everyone was just, the salespeople just punched orders like you can't believe it. Which is a good thing. I mean, we don't want to limit sales, but there was better ways in smoothing the volume, you know, bit by bit. We had like, yeah, massive stuff to come through. The manufacturing people were screaming because they couldn't, we stopped the line because there was no space to pack it. Now we affect their KPIs. Yeah, so definitely you have to understand that you work as one company, one team, not different departments. The design, we had in our syrup room, so we actually mixed the concentrate, the secret formula, let me call it that, with the water and everything, and the sugar, where we mix it, and to actually where the line was, I can't remember the distance, I think it was just over 60 meters. The design was, let's put in a 50 millimeter pipe, and we didn't. We were supposed to put in a 65 millimeter pipe when we've only put in a 50 millimeter pipe. What happened is, from the syrup room to the filler, when we actually started running, when we started commissioning this equipment, we found that the blender, we call it a blender, where you start mixing the final syrup, where you now blend it with CO2 and a little bit of more water, that this tank would run out continuously, and we didn't understand, and the Germans were shouting in German with each other, and you know, we were shouting, and everyone's just running around. So it was a massive confusion, where one of the guys just actually looked at the pipe and at the piece of paper and say, listen, but hang on, you need that 65 millimeters extra in your pipe. And that, obviously, the minute we realized that we cut the pipes, we installed the proper size, problem solved. You know, so looking at that, just make sure that you actually read the specs. You know, if it says 65 millimeters, don't be clever and do something else. Just do what it says. You know, that, again, the question was from a logistical point of view. I keep on asking engineers. You look at this. How do you not get the right size? But yeah, so size does matter, guys. And I've put it here: double check and measure twice. It's a big learning I've learned from my father. Measure twice and cut once. Yeah. So yeah, we had part of this building a project because of the size. We need compressors, big, massive compressors that actually gives us 40 bar compressor and 7 bar compression that blows the bottle and operates the machine open and close. And we thought, now listen, good idea, let's put all 4 compressors. We had 2 40 bars, 2 7 bar compressors. Let's put all of them in one room, one compression room, which is great because you've got everything there. You can put your equipment, your tools, everything is there. Again, and if I say we, in brackets I refer back to the engineers, guys, but it's we. We didn't look at how these compressors are cooled. So guess what? We had 2 water cooling compressions and 2 air-cooled compressors. So the room that they were in kept on overheating, or you know, the heat, it was heating up the whole time, and we kept on tripping the plant because the equipment cut out the whole time, and we couldn't understand why. You know, so we went back to the room. Okay, it's too hot in here. What do we need to do? So afterwards, we had to spend more money to install extraction fans. If we knew that from the start, or if we looked at the detail prior to the installation, we could say, listen, okay, let's put in extraction fans, or do we get, it was the 7 bar compressors that was air cooled. Do you get 7 bar compressors that actually water cooled as well? And I'm sure you do. But that was some of the learnings. I mean, someone said, put them in one room, and we said, okay, great, let's do it, you know, and we didn't look at the specs afterwards. So yeah, that was the learnings from a design challenge. I mean, there was many, I'll talk about the conditioning room now, but there was many design issues we encountered, some big, some small, some that we still live with. But this was just the 3, and then something that I would have done differently. If you look at we had a conditioning rooms that was basically built on the site, because our production environment should be dust-free. We talk about a positive air system, just keeps the dust out. Same principle if you switch on your aircon in your car and you open up your window, a small, you know, the the compression is in your car, so it keeps in dust, out. So the same system. So if we built the location of the conditioning rooms in a different space, it would have helped keeping more dust out. So I think that was a big thing. We didn't do that at the time, but for future projects, that's something that we can consider. From a design point of operations, and this is now my space in the logistics side. Like I said to you prior to this, stock was standing everywhere. It was a mess. Our stacking standards was a challenge. Our trucks couldn't park. You saw the construction on the outside. And a very limited loading capacity. At the same time, we said, okay, I think at the time we had like a capacity of just over 700,000 cases. We would want to double that, and that also then said, okay, let's repaint the warehouse. Everything is stacked neatly in a bin, but the way it's currently stacked is not the right way. So what do? Let's repaint everything, which means the quickest way to do it is you remove everything in that whole warehouse, get a team to grind off the old lines, and then quickly paint, and 2 weeks later everything can go back in. But because it was still an operational depot or plant, we couldn't do that. We had to do section by section, so that was a big challenge in itself as well. Moving that stock into places where there was construction, where we couldn't, it was a massive challenge for us. We talk about the incorrect delivery mode plan to customers. So we've got 3 delivery modes. And if I talk about a delivery mode, you've seen the big interlinked trucks that we've got on the roads. They get loaded with a forklift. Oh. Did I jump to the next one? Sorry about that. I told you I'm nervous. Because of thank you for, by the way, you can grab a Coke on the way out. Because of the stock standing everywhere, as a company, we are very strict on governance. Even in a construction environment, we were clearly told we're not going to deviate from those governance standards. And part of the governance rules are if you count stock, if you reconcile stock, it must be identified in a bin in a area that you couldn't mix Coke and Sprite into one bin, just because we had capacity constraints. We had to do it the right way. And it was a massive challenge. It was a big learning for me. And I still don't have the answer actually to deal with the governance better. But for me, it's maybe just, we physically ran around with temporary bin tape. You get like a big roll of this, like masking tape, and you stick it on the ground. And 2 days later, you pull up that bin tape again and you go and put it somewhere else. That was how we tried to manage everything like that. So luckily for us, with this whole project, we kept on managing the governance, which I think was a big thumbs up to the team as well, in very difficult circumstances. But that's normally in big projects like this is governance slip. And I think that talks about your maturity as a company. How do you handle it? Do you stop the project? Do you stop the team and say, listen, I need half a day longer and I'm going to follow the right thing. I'm going to do the rule. So that was a big thing for us over there, is just to manage that. So we moved our customers to other depots, and it's just to manage it from our side was a massive challenge. And to the next slide that is right now, from a customer service point of view, our drivers were moved. So if we move customers, think about it. If your driver delivers to a customer week after week after week, he knows the routines of that customer. So we couldn't send the Midrand drivers to our customers. It was best that we temporarily moved our drivers that deliver to those customers to a Midrand depot. And what happens in a Midrand depot, and I'm just using this as an example, if they run short in capacity, what do? They deliver to their customers first. It's just human nature. That you want to make sure that your customers don't shout. Devlin customers could shout because we were sitting in Devlin taking the phone calls the whole time, and then making a phone call back to Midrand guys, what's happening? So we said, luckily halfway through the project, or through this whole period, we said, listen, we're sending a guy from us to Midrand. He stays there until this whole thing is done. And it solved the problem, because now all of a sudden you have someone in that depot that can manage, and support our drivers over there. One thing that we didn't do, and this is a big learning for me, is when you do stuff like this, communicate to your customers. I see it there. I just want to see, I mentioned somewhere here that, it will get to another slide. Sorry, I'll get to another slide. Your customer should never feel the impact of your operation or the change in your thing. So although they shouldn't feel it, I think it's still important to communicate that, because they might receive a driver from another depot. They might get an invoice that says Midrand depot at the top and not Devlin depot at the top. So it's always good just to keep them informed. We then, because we have got different delivery modes, Midrand is focused on a rear end tail loader. You've seen it. We've got the side load that loads with a forklift, and actually they offload at the customer with a forklift as well. Typically your macros, your wholesalers, who else? Pick and Pay hypers. Then we've got the tail of a rear end loading trailer as well. You've seen them. They look like the Pick and Pay ones. They've got a lift at the back that you can actually take a pallet up and down. Now we would send, because we didn't know the customer, they'll send a Midrand driver there. They'll send him with a forklift delivery mode, if I can call it that, But he actually receives at the dock, so you offload. He doesn't have a forklift. Created massive problems for us. And getting that right. So when we moved our person into that depot, he could influence that, and problem solved. And then like I talked about priority, those customers in that depot, Pretoria and Midrand their customers got priority over our customers. All right, from a safety point of view, now if I think if there's any project, and I thought about it, let's say you've got an IT project, let's say you've got any form of project that you're running, you've got people involved. There is obviously people involved, and it doesn't matter in which environment you are, safety comes first. You obviously do a risk assessment in your company and the type of project that you run, what type of risk is associated with the environment. Obviously our risk is much higher, even in mines it's even 10 times higher than what we have. But we've noticed that we thought we were strict enough, but we weren't. And I'll give you an example now. But just think about the number of contractors on site that had to be managed on a daily basis. We thought that we're checking the M, they know exactly where they go to. We had to make sure that all of them are working safe and injury-free. And because it's a construction environment, you do get the people that gets injured, either via medical treatment or gets like a disabling injury. But I think what this learned to me, and I'll talk about an example as well, why I want you to focus. And if there's one thing I want you to take away with this presentation today, it's not necessarily the experience and stuff. I think if you're ever going to run a project in your life or be part of it, safety comes first, guys. This is what I want you to take away. We work with people. We believe in our company that even in our daily operation, that the manner we received you, we want to send you back in that same condition to your family. So it's important that even in this environment that we do exactly the same. So how do we do it? We make sure that your work permits is to the T. We go through it. We actually appointed a project manager that just managed that for us. He ran with everything, issued work permits, checking them. Because the problem with contractors is you can issue them a work permit and they'll continue, and you'll only see them the next morning when they ask for another work permit. No one checks that they're actually working safe. We are required, every single project that gets done on our sites, small or big, there's a safety file that gives you all your legal and statutory requirements in that file. And I found that by reviewing that file on a on a regular basis. Now, if I say regular basis, depending on the span of the contract, but I said once a month, just go through it, because you would miss some of the expiry dates of some of those legal documents, and it would create massive problems, or something is not right. A good example, I told Dean as well, we're actually installing solar panels on our roof now, and when I went the first time through the document, I checked, okay, is that letter there, is that thing there, is that sign? Didn't look at the detail at first. And then a day or two later, when I said, okay, now I've got time, I've booked time to read through every single detail, I actually saw that the risk assessment of our plant in Bloemfontein talks to a petroleum company outside. You know, they actually had the name in there. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, reviewing that file on a continuous basis is very important. We also launched an initiative in the depot to help us, because we can't be the project engineer. We couldn't be at all the places at the same time where the construction is taking place. So we ran an initiative, and this is something that I'm doing now as well. Whenever there's something going on site, I incentivized each and every single employee that can take me a photo of an unsafe work practice, and they can bring it to me, and we deal with the guy. And when I talk about incentive, I don't talk about a cap and a t-shirt. We give a proper, decent incentive to the guys. Just because of the culture that we try to have our companies to make sure that they work safe. So that's something that consider. Get your people working there. If you work in an office environment, installing new furniture or whatever, make sure that, you know, does your employee, or let me give a good example, a frontline employee, that a young guy, give him the authority to go to that contract and say, listen, let me see your work permit. You know, teach the guy what to look for. Do it. I challenge you guys on that. It just makes it, I mean, that contractor gets so gutful to every time stop his work. And we actually had a guy, he went to the wall and he put up his safety file and everything there. And whenever someone asked him, he said, just go and check there. You know, so, and he made damn sure that everything is in place, because he didn't want to be questioned on this stuff. Overemphasize safety rules and procedure to everyone. It means on a daily basis in your team meetings, start your project meeting for the day with a safety topic. Is everyone safe? Did someone get hurt? So yeah. And then I'm going to end off. I didn't know I'm going to speak an hour, but this is the conditioning room that we've installed. Now, I told you a conditioning room is we keep the preforms in there. It keeps it at a constant temperature so that when we produce, we've got minimal losses. Now that's the size of a door. What's a normal door, right? 2 meters, just over 2 meters. And if you take it up, it is a 7-meter building. Now, because we've got air conditioners in here, heat pumps, that keeps that room at a constant stage. We're dealing with a heat generating piece of equipment, which means from a safety point of view, we need, should there be a fire, should that equipment catch fire, we should be able to contain the fire. There's part of the big fire hoses, you could see it running there, and they just run across into this building as well. So it's this one, and this was the old side. You can see the color of the bricks quite clearly over there. One Saturday morning, and I told you the safety procedures, we literally started our meetings every single day. Are you inducted? Can I see your file? Do you know the safety rules of the company? Yes. Do you know there's risk in the company? Yes. If you work at heights, do you actually put on a harness and attach it to, we call it a lifeline? Everyone, yes. And as a company, we've done what we could. We literally do what we've done what we could. So on top of that building is a roof. It's a thick insulation wall, that ceiling that we've installed over there, and that obviously just contains it, but there was no support structure from the inside, because obviously we had to have mobility in the inside. The rule is, if you walk onto that ceiling, attach yourself in a harness onto a lifeline, and that ceiling will be able to carry a maximum limit, I think, I can't remember, something like 250 kilograms which means one person at a time, you'll be safe. The lifeline was an extra added tool that we said, listen, should Murphy's Law happen, we still got you safe. One Saturday morning, work permit was issued. Asked the contractors, do you really know what needs to be done? Guy signs, yes, I'm happy, goes in. And maybe from a learning point of view, is how do you check your people coming in? This guy actually snuck 3 people in the gate, and he left them. He gave his access card to this guy. Should you need something to eat or drink, I mean, you can go in and out, you know. And being a Saturday, very limited management on site. So these guys put on their harnesses. It was the fire equipment people. They wanted to come install fire equipment specifically for this room over here. They had their harnesses on, and they started walking onto that roof, 3 people. And guess what happened? That roof caved in, and they literally fell 7 meters. Now, obviously, I don't want to show you how someone looks like that fell 7 meters. But it's not a pretty picture, guys. That height, people actually die. And this was done very close to the end of the project. We went through 7 to 8 months of injury-free, disabling injury-free work that was done. Those guys, right at the end, this happened. And I think it's because of fatigue. People are just too tired and focus. As a business, we just want to get on with it and get the production, the stock out. But I think, yeah, and then what happened is you know, the project engineer at the time that was at another place, he was called. We got the ambulance in, we took the people to the hospital. Because the general practice of that is if we don't know if you've got a medical aid or not, the closest hospital there is the Breytenbach hospital. And they, think about it. Breytenbach being the biggest hospital, their emergency room is quite good. I've been there a couple of times. Obviously, where the people are in the beds, that's a debate. But we immediately took these people to Breytenbach, and then just to get them sorted out, to make sure that they are stable and they you know, there's no life-threatening injuries to them as well. As a company, then we take those people within a couple of hours, or you know, as the doctors allow us to do, and we transport them to our private hospital. We link up with private hospitals, and we then pay for that employee, irrespective if it's his mistake or not. And in this case, the guys had the harnesses on. They didn't walk on you know, they were not one person at a time on the roof. And the big thing is they weren't attached to the lifeline. So if they just were attached to the lifeline, all of them would have been safe at that time. So irrespective of what they did wrong, as a company who said, we still care about you as a contractor, we're going to take you to a private hospital and you'll get the best service or the best medical treatment. They went past the Sunday morning when we actually went to Barra and we wanted to check how the guys are they all right. We couldn't find the people. So we thought, okay, different what do you call it? A hall where they are, say again? Ward, sorry, there you go, thank you. So these people actually, we thought they were moved to different wards. So now we start finding out, you know, do you know these people? Where are they? Couldn't be found in the hospital. They are there, on the paper they are there, but physically we couldn't find them. We actually walked from ward to ward to ward and looking for these people. The sad story is, these were 3 illegal immigrants, and the contractor that got the fire contract installed as a subcontracted to someone else, didn't tell us about it. And he realized, listen, he's got big problems. He actually took the people out of hospital and we couldn't find them. You know, I don't know, the people were badly injured. Luckily they didn't die. I know we did investigations afterwards and we actually found the people, you know, but much later. But this contractor actually went into the hospital and took the people out of the hospital. I mean, have you heard about something like this before? And it's just because he was so scared of what the repercussions is going to be, that he didn't have to do it. You know, obviously that guy is totally banned from our sites. He'll never have any Coke or Coke-related project again for us. Yeah, that was one of the lowest points in my career, in my 11 years career. I've never experienced, I mean, that hollow feeling inside of you to say, listen, but I brought these guys here. Where are they now? You know, and how do you answer to someone that the guys are gone? We don't know where they are. So, the biggest learning, guys, and this is where I'm going to end. Let me just double check. No. Safety. And I'll be quick, guys. I really I'll be quick. The biggest learning for me was as the source, the start of that problem was that if the guys followed the proper safety rules, we would never have to go and look for them in hospitals or even take them to hospital. And yeah, as I was preparing this slide, I thought about, okay, let's talk about safety. Well, you know, better 1,000 times careful than once dead. And that's what we try and practice in our company as well. And then one that also talks to me is if you think safety is expensive, because that's sometimes the policy of different companies is they don't want to invest in safety just because of the amount of money that it goes into it. You know, the damage to your reputation and the claims to your plant is extremely high after that. And then I like this one. Safety is something that happens between your ears, not something you hold in your hands. You know, it's not about the equipment. The equipment that you put on, the helmet, the shoes, the reflective jacket, that's mitigating equipment. But safety starts with you and your attitude towards safety. And then, yeah, a 10-point checklist. You're going to load this onto a system so that they can see this actually. But this is where I wanted to get to, guys. Sorry, customer comes first, irrespective of your operation. But make sure that you communicate, engage your employees in every single that you do. You'll be surprised that the amount of knowledge that you think the guy on the floor has got, you know, how it can contribute to your project. And then one thing over here is zero tolerance for unsafe work practices, literally zero tolerance. Currently in my plant, if I find out that you're practicing unsafe work practices, I'd rather go and see you in CCMA, but you will be gone. That's how deliberate we are about it. We do not tolerate any unsafe work practices. And that is me then. I've talked a lot. I hope you found it interesting. But is there question, guys? No difficult questions, but is there questions?
Question here. Is your plant at 24 hours?
Yes. We literally operate 24/7, 365 days a year. We work on Christmas days, we work on New Year's. We do not stop. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Yes.
From a budget point of view and a variation orders and contractual point of view, timelines, I mean, you had a lot of variation orders on this, especially the engineers as well had a few mess-ups. Contractors had a few mess-ups. You had to get budget approvals, I'm sure. Yes. But for your timelines, how flexible was the committees when you had to get approval of the budgets from, and then also from a contingency perspective, because you have to have contingencies on the budget to be able to handle the variation orders. How did you handle that?
So let me start off that question by saying at the time, the entity that I worked for, so yeah, just to give you quickly a background, 4 entities that bottle Coke in South Africa on behalf of the Coca Cola company. We were ABI, Amalgamated Beverages Industry at the time. You've got Coca Cola Fortune here in Bloemfontein and in other parts of the country. Then the famous Shinduka Holdings at East Rand. And you've got the current, still not part of our big company, is Peninsula Beverages down at Cape Town. They service the Western Cape and a bit of the Northern Cape. ABI at the time was owned by SAB, that got bought over by InBev. You've heard about it. So SAB, knowing the company that they are, they don't take nonsense. I wanted to use a stronger word, but they don't take nonsense. So there is very little flexibility in dealing with stuff like this. Obviously long explanations and plans to recover that afterwards. But yes, I think the message from SAB Miller was quite clear as well. Get it done and get it done properly, because like I told you, the after effects of not having that product on the floor is much greater than that. So there was a level of understanding, but the pressure to recover that as quick as possible, and when you commit to a timeline, you make sure you deliver on that timeline. I hope I answered your question.
I understand the pressures, and that's why I asked you specifically. Most of the times there are losses. I mean, the production losses due to engineers. Say the engineers made a mistake. Is it going by deadline? Is it production loss that can run to billions of rand? Are they
there is so just sorry.
Insurance from the engineers' point of view, like not public liability,
No.
but patient liability.
We do ask insurance from the company. Most probably if they cause damage to the plant. I know specifically of one incident in this project where the contractors delayed the process, and the debate on how do you quantify that production loss now, it was a massive debate. I think we agreed on a amount, but not the amount that was, yeah, so yeah. All right, yes.
Actually referring to penalty clause.
Yes, yeah.
All the delays, yeah.
With your operations being processed, obviously you need people to run the process. How do you deal with absenteeism? Do you have backup people? Is absenteeism a problem? That's the one question. The second question is your contract. Is it really such a big secret, and how do you maintain the secret?
Good question. Good question. So the first one, let's talk about absenteeism. I think that's what all the companies, there's not a company in South Africa that does not struggle with absenteeism. I think it comes down to the morale of your people. Do that employee, do they really want to get to work to actually do their job? I mean, my company is my passion. I know these days millennials are seen, it's good if you jump from one company to another. I mean, I'm still loyal. I've been here 11 years in my company. I'm hoping to be another 11 years. So, and every single day of my 11 years, I really want to go to that work, So I think that's how you treat your people that will ensure them to get to work. But we still deal with people that get sick, that's got family responsibilities and stuff like that. And I think from a company point of view that I've enjoyed or appreciated in my 11 years towards me as well, is that the company is very lenient towards that, So they would allow you time to go and to do what you ever have to do. From a management point of view, is we are very strict on making sure there's cover for a specific role. So we are rolling out currently in our depot over here that let's say you've got let's take the manufacturing manager for instance, that position, that you've got 2 people ready to cover at each stage. So currently as I'm standing here, there's someone covering for me over there. And then further from that, it escalates down. So creating cover is very key to your business. Not always possible because turnover is a big problem. And, resourcing, getting people to actually do extra work, learning is a big problem. So we focus on developing people. We've got we call it a frontline development program where we're actually developing people, to do different roles. We actually incentivize them. The minute they complete phases, they get more money. As a monthly, on their monthly salary. So, I think, and by the way, Willie over there, just put up your hand, please. He's our HR business partner. And he's... I don't like people working on Christmas Day. Yeah, and just a disclaimer, Willie is here, so if I say something that is not right or my dismissal letter is in his car, and then we've got 2 ladies over here, they're from Public Affairs and Communication. So whatever I say wrong, they'll put in the newspaper and say it wasn't true, So, But yeah, I mean, from an HR point of view, we are very strict on developing our people, right down to the bottom. And the second question, it is a secret. It is a secret. If the secret is written down on a piece of paper in a big vault in Atlanta, I've never been there, but I've been told that it is. And I've been asked a question, guys, and think about it for yourself. We sit in a day and age where people can analyze, they can work with atoms, they can work with microorganisms. Why can't some clever scientist just give me the secret formula of Coke? I mean, it's common, it's possible. And I think someone has somewhere analyzed it and said, okay, this is how they think. The real ingredient, secret ingredient, is the vegetables that they actually, if you look at it, it says vegetable ingredients, and that's the secret part about the formula. No one knows how to, and by the way, from a Coke point of view, our concentrate is manufactured in Swaziland. They've got that secret on how to mix those raw materials. Once they hand over the concentrate to us as a bottler, we've got now the other formula on how to mix all of that with water, sugar, and carbonate it. You know, so, and that's how they keep their secret as well. There's not one person that understands the whole process. The vegetable part, or the secret ingredient, is even where they grow it, how they grow it, in what conditions. It's a massive discussion.
From the maintenance point of view, because you said that the machines have been imported from Germany, yes, and you've actually highlighted the point of capacity building in terms of your local guys that were not properly capacitated. How are you able to deal with the issue of maintenance? We get the guys from Germany to come and do that, those machines to maintain them, or what is the process there?
So we believe in being self-sustained, yes. And how do you get someone to learn from a machine is when the people from Germany come here, and this is how we currently do it, is the guy come here, and when he works on a specific equipment on the machine, he's there, and we've got another guy that actually writes down this. And the OEMs, the suppliers, they don't mind it, you know, they know how it's a tough world out there. So they are very accommodating in training the people. But for this specific project, part of the commissioning plan was to actually train the people, to get them up to speed. But like we've seen in many line installations, the minute the Germans or the Italians leave, what happens? The performance, woof, it just drops. And I think that is any company that runs a project like this, is make sure that your people are trained prior to the commissioning. And my philosophy about it is, the minute you get to a point where you now need to get trained on this machine, you can actually, when you already know the basics, we already know the sequence of the buttons to press, or the changing of the change parts, you can now start asking more higher level questions. Okay, how do I lubricate this machine? What is the life cycle about the machine? And that's what we lacked in this project. The minute the Germans left the country, we had a massive problem in getting that line up to performance again. And it took us literally a year to start running that 160,000 cases a day. A day, sorry. Doesn't answer your question. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Andre. We're very much sorry that you had to learn it the hard way. But for a mere reason that you ignored the very smart guy, Breytenbach, as project management techniques.
Yeah.
From the start to finish.
Yeah.
By the way, have you not allowed your staff to be part of the project from the get-go? What informed that, number one? Number two, now that you know what the challenges were, and ultimately what you were supposed to have done initially, are you now having project managers or a manager in your employ as we speak, after having learned what you've learned? And lastly, your product patent. You know there are fake goods outside there. Yes. How do you take it?
Okay, I'm going to try and remember the question, but let's start off with the with involving the people. I think to an extent we involve the people. we left out the operator. We left out the guy that works that machine every single day. And I think my personal view is that that is something I would have done differently. If I was the main project engineer, that's what I would have done. I would have at least get key individuals in the team, not everyone, it's not logistically possible to do it, but I would get key individuals like a technical guy, like a frontline guy actually on the floor, like certain people in certain departments, and most probably your strongest people as well. Get them involved, get the input. Even if they say one sentence in that whole 9 months, can make a massive difference. Like just to give you the example is, in fact, the guy in Bloemfontein that told us, listen guys, you're going to have a problem if you install this, the line in such a way, was the guy sweeping the floor. Think about it. It was the guy sweeping, he didn't know how to run the line, but he saw that where we marked it out, all he did is say, guys, have you seen that column over there? Have you seen the width of a forklift? And again, how long does the engineer study? 4, 5 years? 4 years? Engineers that studied 4 years had to listen to a guy that sweeps the floor. And that was the turning point for me. And I realized I will always, if I have the opportunity to run a project or if I'm involved, I will always involve someone on the floor. Second question was, no, we didn't make use of that guy. Obviously, but we've got our own people that is employed. We've got people on a permanent basis. In our current plant, we've got electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. Obviously in the bigger plants, our manufacturing director is a chemical engineer. So we've got all of these, and together they run different projects as well, throughout their lives as well. Your question on the patent and the fake products, just how do we mitigate that?
Yeah, you're obviously aware that there are fake products out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak on your behalf.
So fake products like in a Coke logo?
No, the actual product.
Cola products.
Oh, Cola. Like opposition, our competitors. Fake. Okay. As you know, Valprey is part of our company. Valprey is a Coca Cola owned brand. And you saw in the news that they were, I think it was Heidelberg, ladies. Heidelberg, the guy, they actually used a fire hydrant to fill the water. So we can't really go to each and every company or building and check what are they doing over there. So the minute we see something like this, we react to it immediately, get the police, the authorities involved. And as it happened over there, I mean, within minutes, hours, that whole fake facility was shut down. Does it make an impact on our business? Definitely. I mean, I know months after that, people came to me, I would, from a Coke factory, bring them the Valprey case. And they'd ask me, listen, did you get this from Heidelberg? Where? But yes, it does cause damage to the company. And I think just to reassure that the consumer that we actually do it right, what we do, a good practical example is, we would bring customers first. We'll start the customers that buy from us. We would bring them to the Valprey plant in Heidelberg. And we would show them how the operation works. We'll show them the boreholes where we extract the water from, and through the whole process up until we actually get them to taste the final product. So that's how you start winning the confidence of the customer and the consumer back again. Does it answer your question, sir? Thank you. Yes, sir?
Sorry, I couldn't see the vegetable on the label. No, that's not my question. Just from a 30,000 foot level, if I look at this project, it looks a lot like the depot or the plant. Looks like a airport.
Yeah.
So my question is why would a phase in, phase out approach not work, and why would an independent person from that worked on, let's say, the Dubai airport, not be able to give input, or why didn't you get independent input in the project? And then in terms of the control, a 15mm pipe was used, so I don't think it's about checking twice. There should have just been control, and that would have been avoided.
Definitely. Definitely. Just from the airport scenario point of view, do we have specialized people that advise us on this? Yes, we definitely do, especially from the SAB Miller team that install lines all over the world and do this type of work all over I mean, they've got, that's their job. They move from one plant to another, and that's what they do. So from a soft drinks environment, I think we've got the right people to do it. And then I think the second question is, but so if they know what they're doing, why haven't they learned? I think each and every single plant is unique. I think each and every line, we don't have one line that is an exact duplicate of another, so it makes it complicated. At the time that this was the advanced, in fact, it's still the most advanced line in Africa, technology-wise. Just the software upgrades on it was a massive challenge to us, and how it works, how it flows and stuff like that. So yes, maybe possibly someone to look at is getting external people involved in this. It makes it tricky because you would want to keep your secret, in your company. Yeah, so that's something to consider as well. But yeah.
Clarity, second question. The project manager of my whole project, was that an Italian and with Germans coming into South Africa?
Sorry, I tell her, I talk to her. By the way, she's a permanent employee of Coca Cola, or Coca Cola Beverages Africa. She's Italian, so I call her the Italian. Yeah, and she's currently, funny enough, she was a project manager at the time. She's currently the manufacturing manager in Devland itself as well. Very knowledgeable person. Has done many of these projects, and I think she said, listen, okay, it's enough now, let me start being more part of the operation. But yeah, we do have, in Bloemfontein, we've got a Sedel lines. It's the Sedel lines, it's built by Italians, and the Krones lines is built by Germans. So we diversify, we've got what's the right word? We don't have all our eggs in one basket, so we've got different types of equipment. Well, at doing that at the same time, we try and standardize as much as possible that we can, so when we, like with we call it a HMI screen, human machine interface machine, it's like basically a touch screen. We try and standardize to one set of machine all over. So does it answer your question? Does it clarify?
Clarity, because a lot of projects, especially multinational and a global company such as Coke, it's always been that because we're a global family these days, when you are working with Germans here and Italians there and South Africans, that sometimes in terms of communication, is one aspect that can really derail a project.
For sure.
I just wanted to see if that was the case here.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
I want to refer back to your intro video, the introduction of the company.
Yes.
Let me ask you 3 questions.
And now you're going to catch me out. But let's see, yeah?
So I want to know, how is Coca-Cola supporting small business owners, specifically women? Now, how are you buying Austrian question? When you guys changed the can size of your 330 to the 300 based on the sugar tax.
I knew this was going to come, yeah?
Was small business owners and specifically vending machine owners taken into consideration?
I don't know. I don't know about vending machines. That's a good question. But
don't take the size of your new Coke.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you're right, they're all manufactured on the, and it's not I assume you've got a vending machine. And the parts or the guides inside is fixed. You can't adjust it. Yeah, it's a very good question. I didn't know about that. Most probably they didn't take the people in account. The 2 beautiful ladies over here will fill me in, but they work on developing small businesses is actually in their portfolio. Am I right, ladies? I think from a small business point of view, what we do, we've got even the business in a box. We started with young people. You know, these days unemployment is a big problem in our country. So we, through various initiatives, we've got this project running, in fact, very successfully in Welkom over here, where we actually get these guys, in short, we lend them the money, they start the business and they start paying it off over time, you know, and getting a good income through that. So from a corporate social responsibility point of view, that's what we do. We do develop them. What other initiatives, ladies? Grow my business as well. Can I ask you just to give us, you wanted to come, so help me please. Caroline, can I introduce Caroline from the Public Affairs and Communication Department, and she is responsible for the media. Like I said, you know, if I say something wrong, she's the first person that goes to the radio and says what Andre said is not true.
I don't know if you can hear me. So we've got Grow My Business. I was trying to avoid that. Okay, so we've got Grow My Business, right? It's currently running. And what we do, it's a really great initiative where we offer free one-day business skills training to any South African citizen. You're welcome to come through and attend that training. It's currently running. Right now we communicate via our customers and spread it by word of mouth and just get people talking. And locally we try to get in touch with our township environment, because we see that there's a lot of youth that don't have, that are not employed, and we try to get them in a room and just expose them to those business skills. So that's one, and it's currently happening, and if you're interested, you can come to our offices and inquire about that. It's currently running. And then Business in a Box, yes, we do have it currently running, but it's a project-based rollout. A successful rollout that we had recently was Welkom, where we equipped 30 of the unemployed people. We get several partners into it, they get funding, and obviously they have to work that loan off. It's sort of a loan, but obviously you get income out of it. So it's sort of testing the young employee or the young entrepreneur how to manage their own business and be able to pay off debts and be able to manage that. But also exposing to them coolers, we give them coolers as well in their spaza shop that they will run. So I think it's also a very great opportunity that we'll offer. We've rolled it out in Rustenburg, and there are plans that we'll take it to Northern Cape, because we also have to look at the area as well in terms of unemployment. So it has to suit whatever conditions that are there in that area.
Thank you.
Do you give to the Business in a Box business owners?
So it's sort of a project based. We don't just award a person that opportunity. So it's an initiative where we invite applications to come through. We screen them, obviously. Obviously you have to be youth, from 18 years to 35 years. You go through that, you're vetted. Then we take them through like a program, sort of like a boot camp. Equip them with skills. They figure out how are they going to make their business work, what combo is going to work out if you do sell quotas and whatever, how are you going to do it? So we sort of make them scratch their heads a bit. And once they get through that and they're successful, we shortlist them. So it's sort of like a race. You don't just get to on a platform. You have to at least show some initiative, show that zeal that you'll be able to carry that project through. So once that stage is done, that's when our partners through CEDA comes in, and then we make sure that we get the allocated space for you, where you should have that container. So sometimes it might be in your backyard, but we have to see and study the risks associated with that. We try to support you with training and mentor, because sometimes you just need somebody to hold your hand, just to guide you and keep you in the right focus. Because remember, you do have a debt to pay, because you signed a contract that you want to start a business, but obviously you're going to use it for a certain period. So it also makes sure that you keep that in check. And we've had some great stories from Welkom. Like there's some guys that have branched out, they're selling the quotas, that whole combo mix.
they've rushed out, they're doing a car sale, what is it, car wash. Another lady is done like a hairdressing at a corner, she's selling this, but she's also doing G on the side. So it's something that's quite interesting, and we're really seeing great developments from it. So for Grow My Business, what we do, it's also a very unique thing in the sense that when you do come in for that training, we link you up with our sales manager, account manager. They tell us you want to try to sell some cool drinks, we put you on our customer database, then we'll link you up to get cooler once you sign up as our customer. And that's one of the unique service offerings that we have as a business. A cooler is a fridge, a Coca Cola fridge.
We all want one.
I think you need to talk to Andre.
So Andre, I also think that because what I'm listening to, thank you, is that we have another potential speaker here who is very much equipped to come and tell us about her project.
Yes.
That she's running for Coca Cola.
By the way, Caroline is the one that convinced me to stand here today and being nervous, so thank you for supporting me in this. Yeah. Guys, maybe one or two more questions.
May I ask a completely unrelated question?
Please do so.
When you talk about how is it told that it doesn't, the contract doesn't
Good question. It's actually a very interesting process. May I have, by the way, a very nice of our own products, this. The filling valve is closed on top of this, and then the cool drink actually flows down the side of the bottle and filling it up to stop it from bubbling over. Cool drink is also bottled at 10 degrees, because you've seen thank you, you've seen that if you pour room temperature Coke, especially Coke Zero, over ice, what happens? It bubbles over. So filling it at the right temperature and in the right manner where the cool drink can actually run down the side of the bottle prevents it from losing the carbonation inside. Yeah. By the way, we do tours in the plant. You can come and have a look at it. You guys bring schools, lots of schools on a regular basis. All right, one more question, guys.
Observation. I don't know if you've had this come through from your customer service, but ever since you've moved Coke into that 2-litre plastic bottle, it tends to get flat a lot quicker than it used to be in the glass. Is that a factual thing, or has it come to your attention as an organisation?
You're right. Let me talk about the process. So whenever we do pack designs, pack changes, all of this, we've even done a lightweighting project on the PET bottles to ensure that the impact on the environment is much less. We do trial studies, so we actually fill the cool drink with the right amount of carbonation, and we then store it for a certain amount of time. We transport it for a certain amount of kilometers, and we bring it back and we store it again. And there's every single week we take that product and we test it for carbonation, and you can see that there is a loss of it. It's not a secret. However, that's the expiry date on the product tells you, from a Coke standard point of view, the expiry date will tell you there's the amount of CO2 in this product is below the spec, and yeah, then the product is not deemed consumable anymore. Not that it's unsafe, it's definitely safe. It's just the carbonation goes out. Glass definitely contains it much better. It's a given. Plastic is porous. CO2 escapes from it. Yes, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
From a recycling point of view, this is PET, that is polyprop. Yeah. Recycling point of view, if you want to recycle the PET, and also the dust are sometimes recycler's point of view, recycle PET bottles and change the similar product. You don't want the lid to mix with the PET.
I think I don't think there's a drive to keep it standard. I think the drive is to make sure that what we send out, we actually recover. We've got a massive drive currently in our company that by 2021, we want to recover 100% of what we send out. We're sitting currently, as we sit in today, 67%. 67% of each and every single unit that we send out of our factories, we get back. And we put it back into our plastic bottles. So currently a 2-liter bottle has got 15% recycled bottles back into it again. To answer the question about how difficult it is to actually separate the two, we've got a big initiative going, especially with schools, going to actually recycle the bottles. And part of the process is we're teaching the guys separate the two. Yeah, so you had a question.
Yes, thank you very much. Just wanted to find out with regards to how Coca Cola is managing their projects. Just wanted to establish whether it's their specific project management office, and how did you come through how did you get involved in the Devlin project through you being in the stock planning? And also, how are the projects actually initiated, and also the planning up until the implementation stage?
Let's start with how's the project initiated, obviously via feasibility study. I show you the graph that we actually saw that we're going to run out of capacity in our company. This line, let me just give some background about this line as well. This line was installed because every year of every peak, we would put a lot of pressure on other depots to supply us because of the customer demand. And it just, we lost a lot of volume on that. So the feasibility study that was done indicated the growth percentages that I showed you, the 35% since the last line and the 15% on the 2015 year, and the projected 9% showed us that, listen, we're going to have massive problems if we don't do something about it. We've optimized the running of the lines. We've done everything that we can. We couldn't get out of the current machines more than we got. What is the next step? Install something new. So that was obviously driven by a team, a whole motivation that got signed off. Also, the Coca Cola company themselves are involved in this to say, listen, this is what we plan to grow, and we did grow even higher than the 9% at the time, and that was because of this line. A big drive for us in customer service is measuring out of stocks. Out of stocks means if you order 10 cases, do you get the 10 cases? That 1 or 2 cases that you don't get, we consider it as an opportunity for a competitor to produce product, you understand? Think about it, if you go to a fridge today and there's no Coke 2-liter there, do you go tomorrow and you take 2? No, you take tomorrow, you take 1 again. So we consider that lost unit or that competitor that got the opportunity to sell as a lost sale. To prevent that was our drive to install a new line like this. My involvement in this, at the time I was the logistics manager running the whole logistics in Devlin itself. That being done in Devlin, obviously we need to be involved in that. So we have a project, call it a department, that sits and in head office, and they look after this and they plan this. And as we speak, we are already planning for capacity constraints in the next 5 years. Yes, they are busy in head office, and where the site is then involved, the management of the site then gets involved. All right. Okay.
Yes. When Coke decide on machinery improvement and production process improvement, what are some of the leading factors that drive or influences the improvement in the warehouse? In the sense that maybe customer demands, competitors, or probably some guidance from the coach using listen, you feel that use maybe X amount of number of bottles in 2 minutes maybe, but we were able to manufacture one that fills more bottles than that. But what are the factors that you sit down and decide maybe we need an improved machine, improved processes, production processes? What are the leading factors?
The nice thing about your question, and the nice thing about our company is that as a manufacturing manager and my whole team, when we come across new technology out there, I mean, there's so much new technology every single day. We've got the opportunity to investigate it, to propose the installation, to propose it to the company. The big question that every single company asks you is return on investment. So if I'm going to spend 5 million rand or 10 million rand, or in this case of this line, 220 million rand, how quickly can I get my money back? You know, so there's a whole project that goes, you know, a proposal that you put together is how quickly can I get it back? And currently we are testing equipment now in our Bloemfontein plant, which is, by the way, a quarter of this size. The quarter of this plant. This is literally the biggest plant in Africa. We are testing here. You know, obviously you do it in an environment where the risk is mitigated. We are testing here. Should we do it here? It's equipment that we use to clean the tank in the inside, you know, to make sure that there's no microorganisms or bacteria or even the previous run's flavor in the tank. So we've got equipment now that we sourced that we're actually testing here now. If it's successful, we roll it out to the bigger business. And by doing that, we measure our water usages, you know, because we need to be sustainable as well. Currently in Bloemfontein, which is the second lowest consumer of water in our company, we use 1.45 liters for every liter produced. 1 liter goes in the product and 450 ml goes into either cleaning or, you know, getting the tanks clean or whatever. If we do that, we reduce our water consumption by 50%. You understand? So that's a saving, not only just to being sustainable, but on the, you know, on the environment, but for the company as well. And yeah, so it all comes down to how quickly can I get my money back and what can you do. So it's open for us as a company, as employees. We can look at stuff and implement it, but it must bring the money back. All right, one more question.
Sorry, Andrew.
Yes.
This one goes for both of you.
Okay. You can answer.
With this case that gave us of the skilled engineer, and then you've got the cultural issue where he didn't want to respond to your chief and they responded to the looking at it from the project managers, how best to intervene and facilitate the process, because you're looking at time frames, deadlines and all that, so that this guy, you also managing the relationships, so that you don't lose the skill, but also you don't lose your team morale, because this is the guy that I don't prefer to speak to this people, I don't speak to this. How well can you facilitate it as a project manager? Because I'm faced with such situations sometimes, and you really want to train well.
Can I answer that, Jan, please? So from a, let me just, a point of clarity, the German not speaking to the employee, I think it was more of a point of him being under tremendous stress. And one thing that we've learned is, and you don't want, when people are doing important work, like critical work like that, you don't want people around them, you know, stuff like that, talking to them. So I think, and that's their daily operation. So they would rather let people, they won't speak to them now, and later on, they will take the time, once the installation is done, once the critical work has been done, then they'll give that attention, you know. And I'm dead sure, I haven't seen it, but dead sure that is what happened then afterwards. For him then speaking to the Italian, the lady, which is obviously English, she at the time was the project engineer. So I think it's just a level of authority as well that drives, which I don't agree with in any case. I mean, in our company, our CEO is just as important as the guy on the floor as well, and that's what we believe in any case. So I think how to combat that, what do you do, is you make sure that you factor in time for training. And communication is to make sure that when you do something like this, is get the guys to observe, to write down, make notes, and then when the time is right, then start asking the questions. But factoring in that time for training and developing is very important. We often slip on that. All right, guys, thank you for this. Can I ask you to take out your phone, write this presentation, Honest feedback. I really appreciate honest feedback. If I didn't do something well, let me know. If I did something well, let me know. Because hopefully next year, Dion, you will invite me again. I enjoyed the time. Thank you for listening to me, guys.